Past the hour as the superstorm rolls ashore. A live look at the George Washington Bridge between New York and New Jersey. One of the many bridges in the New York City area that are shut down tonight. All of the local bridges are shut down. New York City virtually isolated. We have a new death to report. The city of New York reports a 30-year-old man has been crushed to death after a downed tree crashed into his apartment in Flushing in the New York City borough of Queens. There's an urgent call as well coming out of a firehouse in Brooklyn, New York. Firehouse evacuation of engine 206, which is on Grand Street off Newton Creek, requesting not trucks or cars but boats to evacuate the men inside engine 206. The water has risen so quickly. It's a live look at the FDR Drive now on the main highway on the east side of Manhattan. It is underwater south of 20th Street all the way around Lower Manhattan. The storm surge has now in Lower Manhattan reached record levels. The fear was the storm surge would top the previous record of 11.2 feet. Instead, it's now at 13 feet officially from the National Weather Service. And according to the National Weather Service, that is enough to inundate Lower Manhattan. We're told now of flooding all around the southern tip of Manhattan in parts of Queens and Staten Island. Communication is certainly limited. 1.5 million people are without power. And the damage estimates in the early going here are now at $10 to $20 million, which would make this one of the most costly natural disasters in American history. Wow. David Lee Miller has been following this storm. The U.S. financial markets were closed today, and they'll be closed again tomorrow for the first time since 1888 that weather has forced Wall Street to shut down for multiple days. David Lee Miller's been traveling around the southern tip of our city. David Lee, what are you seeing out there?
Shepard, it's no exaggeration to say that much of Manhattan at this hour looks like the set of a disaster film. Lower Manhattan especially. The flooding continues. Much of the Battery, which is the area lie-lowing at the tip of Manhattan, now covered with water. The water continues to cascade along one of the major roadways. People, nevertheless, in this area designated Zone A, where there is a mandatory evacuation, have said they refuse to leave. About 10% of the people who live there. Con Ed now turning off the power that has already not been disconnected in order to prevent damage to their system. And off in the distance, Shepard, across the Hudson River in New Jersey, I have seen repeated explosions. I am told that they are transformers that are simply exploding, sending a magnificent explosion of light that you can see across the river. And as you travel north up Manhattan, up along 8th Avenue, as you cross 14th Street, there a very disturbing and upsetting sight, a 4-story building. The entire front of the building, Shepard, completely sheared off because of the high winds. It looks like a dollhouse. At this hour, not clear what, if any, injuries there were, but everywhere you travel throughout Manhattan, there is danger. Not just high water, but there are high winds, and everywhere you travel, there is debris. Anyone outside is at great peril. Shepard?
David Lee, we're getting pictures up of that building that you mentioned collapsed in the Chelsea section of New York, of Manhattan. This is the facade that fell off. I guess that's there on 8th Avenue where it fell into the avenue near 14th Street, right?
That's exactly right. And there are scores of police outside, and it is such a dramatic picture, Shepard. When you look at this building, it almost looks like you're observing a dollhouse because there's no front to the building. But in fact, a terrible tragedy has taken place there. It's hard to imagine what those inside experienced. You can see what looks like furniture, what looks like a couch, and home furnishings. This was not an industrial building. It looked like people, up until just a few moments ago, had been living there. Shepard?
David Lee, we're watching the thing still come ashore, and I want to show you over here